Connor and I met when I was 24, and he was 32. He wasn't the kind of man who commanded a room with his presence. He wasn't flashy or smooth-talking. He wasn't the kind of man whose charisma drew attention effortlessly. But he was steady. He was kind. He was the kind of man who held the door open without thinking, who always texted back, who listened, truly listened, and remembered the little things I said. At first, I loved that about him. He made me feel safe. He made me feel cherished in a quiet, unwavering way that I had never experienced before. So, when he proposed, I didn't hesitate. We got married, moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment, and started planning our future. Life wasn't extraordinary, but it was comfortable. Connor worked as an assistant manager at a medical supply company. He wasn't wealthy, but he was thoughtful. If I had a bad day, he'd pick up my favorite snacks. If I mentioned something I wanted, he'd save up and surprise me. He never forgot anniversaries, birthdays, or even the small, silly milestones that only mattered to us. For 2 years, we built a life together, quiet, steady, and real. And for a while, I was happy. Not ecstatic, not overwhelmed with joy, but content. And I thought that was enough. Then I decided I wanted a baby. Motherhood had always been part of the picture in my mind. I had envisioned it since I was a little girl. The soft lull of a baby's laugh, the warmth of tiny fingers wrapped around mine, the joy of decorating a nursery with soft colors and gentle light. After 2 years of marriage, it felt like the right time. Connor agreed, and for a while it was exciting. We whispered baby names to each other in the quiet of the night. We looked at houses with extra bedrooms, imagining what it would be like to fill them with life. We dreamed together. But months passed. Then a year. And still nothing. I became meticulous, tracking my ovulation, changing my diet, cutting out caffeine, taking vitamins, following every piece of advice I could find. But no matter what I did, there was no baby. That was when the doubt crept in. A thought I didn't want to acknowledge. A thought I shoved deep down, hoping it would disappear. What if the problem was Connor? The day we went to the doctor, I held my breath, hoping for an answer, something simple, something fixable. But when the results came back, my world shifted. It was him. Connor had low fertility. The chances of us conceiving naturally were almost non-existent. I sat beside him as the doctor explained the details, squeezing his hand, offering him a reassuring smile, telling him it was okay, that we'd figure it out together. But inside, I was seething. This wasn't how my life was supposed to go. I had done everything right. I had gotten married, built a home, planned my future carefully. And now, because of him, my dreams were slipping through my fingers. At first, I tried to be patient. We talked about treatments, about IVF, about adoption. But none of it felt right. Deep down, an ugly thought took root. One that grew stronger with each passing day. A real man wouldn't have this problem. And one night I said it. I don't even remember how the argument started. I just remember the exhaustion in his voice, the quiet plea for patience. And then I snapped. A real man could give me a baby, Connor. The moment the words left my lips, I saw it. The shift. The light in his eyes flickering out. The hurt. The disbelief. The slow realization that I no longer saw him the same way. That was the moment I lost him. I just didn't know it yet. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just looked at me like I had ripped his heart from his chest. Then, after a long, suffocating silence, he nodded. Got it. That was all he said before he walked away. No slammed doors. No angry words. Just silence. I expected him to come back later, to argue, to fight for us, to demand an apology. But he didn't. He just stopped. He stopped touching me first. He stopped looking at me the way he used to. At first, I thought he just needed time, that we would move past it. But days turned into weeks, and the distance between us became unbearable. Then one night, as we lay in bed, he spoke, softly, almost too calmly. Jade, do you even love me anymore? I should have said yes. I should have reached for him, begged for his forgiveness, told him that I didn't mean what I said. But I hesitated. And in that single moment of silence, he knew. 2 weeks later, he packed his things. Just like that, my marriage was over. I should have fought for him. I should have fallen to my knees, apologized, done whatever it took to make him stay. But instead, I convinced myself that I was right. That I deserved better. That I would find someone else. Someone who could give me what I wanted. So I moved on. Or at least I thought I would. I went on dates with men who were taller, richer, more exciting. Men who called themselves real men. But none of them stayed. None of them treated me the way Connor did. None of them wanted to build a life with me. 2 years passed, and I was still alone. still childless, still searching for something I had already thrown away. Then one day I saw him again. I was standing in line for coffee when I turned, and there he was. He looked different, happier, lighter. And he wasn't alone. Beside him stood a woman, elegant, poised, the kind of woman who looked at him the way I used to, before I ruined everything. And then I saw the stroller. My breath caught. Connor leaned down, lifted a little baby girl into his arms, and kissed her forehead. She giggled, reaching for his face, and my heart shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces. He got his happy ending. He found a woman who saw his worth, who loved him for who he was, not for what he could or couldn't give her. He had a wife, a child, a family. Everything I said he wasn't man enough to give me, he gave to someone else. And me? I was standing there alone, holding my coffee, realizing too late that I had lost the only man who ever truly loved me. This isn't a story where I win him back. This isn't a story where everything works out in the end. This is a story about how I threw away the best thing I ever had and spent the rest of my life regretting it. Because the thing about losing a good man, once he's gone, he never looks back.